Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Tricked Before. This time attached. Yeah, it's the next generation attached on It's All Been Tricked Before. Hey, become attached to us on Facebook. It's all been tricked before. It's a lot of fun. We're not barnacles, and neither will you be. Good fun stuff. Keep up with what's going on over here. You don't have to constantly check the feed. Just have us pop up, in your Facebook feed. Next to ads to buy It's All Been Tricked t-shirts. No, that'd be great if they do. But follow us on Facebook. It's All Been Tricked Before, spelled just like it sounds. Now follow this. This is attached. TNG, It's All Been Tricked Before.
Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Tricked Before. Your regular hosts are all here.
This is Steven.
And Keith.
Jimmy Jerome. We are here to talk the Next Generation episode Attached. But first, Keith has missed 3 of the last 4 episodes. Was here a couple weeks ago, but had not watched the previous episodes they missed. So we're going to give him just like 3 or 4 minutes to talk about Gambits Parts 1 and 2 and Dark Page if he so desires.
I remember, trying to marathon through some of these back then. And today I did watch, I was catching up on literally everything I'd missed. And in addition to, the ones we were going to be discussing this, the pair we were going to be discussing this week, a difficult thing to maintain that level of focus, I think. But I'm actually glad that I caught up on some of those, especially Gambit. I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I ended up enjoying it. At the time, I just that's back when I was kind of tuning things out and I had to rush through and get some other, catch up to what was going on. Mm-hmm. And I thought, okay, whatever. I thought it was going to be more, I wasn't buying the stakes immediately because it felt like it was going to be about, oh God, what happened to Picard? Is he dead? How are we going to find him? Because it felt, but the puzzle of everything, the way it was turning out ended up being a lot more interesting than I would have expected. It wasn't really about how do we find him or is he alive? But it was more about how do we solve the problem that he got himself into? What's going on? What's the importance of it? Who should we care about here? And ended up being actually a lot of fun with he and Riker being undercover together and having to work out these plans. And then the eventual swerve actually kind of got me. I should have seen it coming a little further away. And it was fun to see how much Picard might have figured out or might not have figured out, or was he just covering his bases just in case? But certainly that conversation he was having with Talora, I think that was the name that they thought that she was under, called herself T'Pol, which was interesting.
Because every Vulcan woman's name is T'Pol.
Is it really?
It seems to be.
This is one that Q was sort of in and out on, kind of dozing off, but they caught the name T'Pol and identified as being the name of the Vulcan on the Enterprise series, which I had forgotten. So I wondered if that was like a reference that this character was making to be,
No.
All right, interesting. But so I mean, you've heard of other characters that
T'Pol. It seems like there's at least 3 different Vulcan females that basically have that name or very similar name.
Maybe I can't think. I can't think.
Like the High Priestess, and I don't know.
Well, T'Pau had heart and soul.
I enjoyed it. It was fun. Good mutiny story.
Mm-hmm. Always love a good mutiny story.
Yeah, the sowing of dissension in those positions and trying to see how they're maneuvering that. That's kind of fun to see how they manage to do it. Sure. Especially having to play up those adversarial roles to manipulate from both sides and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Any thoughts on Dark Page? Also
the archaeology puzzle, that was fun.
Yeah.
This missing glyph here. I don't care. Whatever. Give me the thing. I don't care what this means. Shut up. But trying to say that as politely and playing up her good guy persona as possible, which was kind of fun to see. I'm sorry. What was next?
Dark Page.
Wow. Yeah. I liked it up until the resolution, I think. And it's just, I understand the power of that sort of thing. That, exploring that type of grief, loss, trauma, etc. It just comes off as a little tedious to me. Just when we get to that kind of, it feels, manipulative and forced, and from the point of view of transmitting some sort of message to the audience, I guess. Leaning on that type of child, or the parent losing a child sort of thing, and the kind of but up until that point, bridging the communication gaps, the symbolism of I liked the way of him trying to, or even the red herring of it just being them being too rough. That's what they kept teasing that, like it's her being around these people that's messing her up. This other. The Karens is kind of funny too. Being too powerful, too powerfully telepathic, or being too incompatible. But that turn in more of like that Darmok. Yeah, that type of communication puzzle. I thought that was fun.
Okay. So let's talk about Attached. What are your first impressions of this week's episode?
Well, I don't know that it actually attached the moon to the ceiling for me.
Oh goodness!
Thank you.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I felt
Roll
like
credits.
it was it is a time of civil war again, and I feel like
Oh right, yeah.
it just creates a shell around which we get this friggin' awesome scene between Crusher and Picard, or a couple actually awesome scenes, I thought.
True.
And we get to Red Kryptonite, their relationship a little here, but yeah, the rest of it was,
Yeah.
And roll credits. I mean, that's pretty much it. Let's get to the rankings. No, it's I'm probably closer to being serious than I realize. There was something fun for me, at least, about the attitude of the aliens who wanted to join the Federation, trying to just like, okay, well, it's probably not going to work out, but I guess go ahead, give it a try with these people. And you're coming in this. I'm kind of. I would certainly in that situation react exactly the way the Riker did. I like the way that he was presenting things, and it just seemed, yeah, sure. You would think, okay, guys, that's great, but we kind of have to do this. We have to give this a try. Don't you think that's a little irrational to just say, whatever? Let's try talking to them at least before we do anything crazy. And it seemed like they were both right in certain ways, although the rest,
the Kes,
yeah, they were pretty right about a lot of things there. It's just, and it's funny that they already had something going. It's like, okay, sure, this didn't have to be violent. It was just, we already know, we've been through this. We already have somebody in there. We've taken the liberty of giving him the key to get out. So.
Yeah.
Good try, guys. We've got something going. I just kind of like the way that played out. So what was the construct for the telepathic link? Was that some sort of handcuff tether or something? What was the purpose of putting that, whatever they had? What was it?
What they had said was, over as soon as it tuned in, basically it was going to make their captors able to read their minds and know everything that they were thinking, so they could catch them at what they were doing bad. But yeah, unfortunately they escaped before that became an issue.
I hadn't even thought of the Defiant Ones aspect of their. The Defiant Ones is the movie with Tony Curtis and Sidney Poitier. They're handcuffed and they escape prison.
Okay,
it didn't even dawn on me that they were tied together that same way. Yeah,
I thought it fled. They did that. Lawrence Fishburne. Yeah, they were like leg ironed and yeah.
So we start out the episode with Picard and Crusher having this very elaborate breakfast with way more food than like the whole senior staff would eat at the table. But it continues the pattern. We know that they have breakfast together, and that's fun. And then Crusher's complaining about Nurse Agawa being late, which made me feel bad for Nurse Agawa, but she's not in this episode to defend herself, so, it is what it is.
Yeah, and she says, I've been telling you about Nurse Agawa and Ensign Markson for the last 15 minutes, and I was like, I want to know more about these two, because then that made me think they're messing around. That's why she's late all this time.
I mean, I do remember that either in the series or in the books, I assume in the series, that Agawa gets married and has a kid, and then she ends up being Riker's chief medical officer in the Titan books. So there is more to Agawa, but I don't think it really matters here. Here it's just let's complain about somebody who you're familiar with, although they did not bring up Dr. Salar. So, they talk about that this is the first planet that has ever partially applied to the Federation of Planets.
Yeah.
I guess it is kind of an unusual circumstance, but then why are they even entertaining it?
Right.
Seems odd.
Well, it seemed like Picard was the one who was objecting more than anyone else, which I guess they're playing up the moral, high ground thing that he does sometimes. But I don't even understand why it should be an issue. I mean, they were, just the way that I think, was it Beverly who was arguing, or I guess both she and Troy were kind of like, what's the big deal?
Well, they compared it to give us more future history to what if Australia had not joined the world government in 2150. So 2150 is apparently when the world of the Earth and Star Trek joined together under one world government. And Australia is still a country at that point. So we get some information there.
I thought, and he was starting to say that it wasn't a good analogy. I thought that, no, that's a great analogy. What does it matter? It's just one country deciding not to do something, essentially.
Well, I think maybe part of why it's not a great analogy is it's just one country, and they're talking about, a world that's only two peoples, right? The Kess and the Prit, which is funny because the planet's named Kesprit.
Yeah.
So that's kind of an odd thing, but whatever.
I didn't catch that. That's funny.
It's like Bosnia-Herzegovina. I think that's where they were going with this.
Yeah.
No, but all right, it would be one thing if it's. I didn't see any clear evidence that there were different racial species or something like that. Or it seemed like it wasn't even it was like a more of an artificial split, something arbitrary, like where they happen to live, right?
Yeah.
So
the one set wore one set of bad clothes, and the other set wore entirely different kind of bad clothing.
Yeah,
I guess, I think the argument to be made, I guess, against letting them. All right, it might exhibit some sort of attitude where they wouldn't be able to make compromises in some other situations, or this other warring faction might work against some interests in unpredictable ways, or whatever. So something strategic. But it didn't feel like you should be able to hold against the one. You know what I'm saying. It didn't feel like that should have had anything to do with their desire to join the Federation.
Well, yeah, but in Star Trek, it's not an official rule, I guess, but in general, any planet they're approaching has been unified under one world government. And so a quarter of the planet opting out is unusual, because normally by the time you get advanced enough to get faster than light travel, you've come together as a species, whereas these people have not. All
right. Maybe.
I think it would be a common thing that a species would come together at that point in their development, but maybe it's not a guaranteed thing because every species is different.
I guess it was a necessarily extreme example to present it in this way too, to have not a 50-50 split, but at least a binary split of sorts. Having I don't know. It does seem unfair somehow to one or both to have this kind of quandary where that's a prerequisite, which of course I guess is why they're even entertaining it, because I don't think there's an easy answer for it.
Yeah, and I appreciate that it's two major factions, and they're the reason that we can even entertain this is because the one side that doesn't want to join, they could, they just don't want to, so we're not going to force them. And then the other side, they want to join, why should they be held back by everybody else? So I guess to that end, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I guess kind of half a planet join the Federation.
Apparently. 3/4, it seems like.
Yeah.
3/4, yeah.
So, all right. I guess it would mean something different. Well, I guess that's the point. It would make the answer too easy. Let's say that that quarter who didn't want to join were actively trying to stop the other section of the planet from joining, or they were threatening some sort of action. It's as long as you, oh, wait a minute. That's essentially what happened, wasn't it? No, they were assuming that alliance was going to threaten them at some point. So maybe that would be an issue.
Yeah.
But they didn't know that yet. All right.
The Federation thought that the other side wasn't going to interfere, but clearly that wasn't the case. So.
Yes. But I mean, also, right. The Prit, whatever it was, they were assuming that the Federation were going to present a problem and taking preactive, military action by intercepting them. So, yes, that would...
Yeah. So before the breakfast scene's over, Dr. Crusher talks about she's got a great idea for breakfast tomorrow. So I guess that means they're having breakfast every day now, or maybe they have been for a while. That's an interesting factoid about their friendship, that it's very regular.
So this is my first fashion for the episode. Crusher's lip gloss lipstick is amazing. Fashion So called it a sassy choice. I noted that it was this is around the same time Elaine starts glossing up herself on Seinfeld. So I did, again, 5 seconds of Google research, and lip gloss really came to its own in the 90s. Look at me, actual fashion that I recognized, and at least one article on the internet backs me up at LancomeUSA.com. And who would know more about lip gloss than Lancome? Official makeup sponsor of this podcast. Please send us.
I didn't know it was pronounced that way.
Lancome?
Yeah.
Oh, Keith, I know my fashion. A+ for Crusher.
So they go to beam down to the planet, Beverly and Picard with no security officers, just the two of them, because it's supposed. I mean, Picard's like the ambassador. I don't know why Crusher's going, but whatever. The two of them are going.
Fashion So said the same thing. Why is Crusher going again?
Yeah, I don't know. They're friends, and then somehow the transporter doesn't work, and I couldn't help but thinking if O'Brien was manning the transporter instead of Worf, maybe we wouldn't have had this issue. Even though that's not fair to Worf. I did not like their captors' outfits. It was almost like the surgery outfits they wear with the red thing, except without the hood piece, and it's a different color. But it wasn't good.
Fashion It felt the same way as you, and I...
Or maybe the clowns in the Lexana Troy holodeck thing?
Yes. It also made me think of Flash Gordon, the security chief and her team in Flash Gordon, which is a special episode of this show. I decided that I liked the security chief so much in Flash Gordon that I was immediately infatuated with Lauren, the main security person. So I was looking past whatever they were wearing, and I enjoyed her very much. So, but yeah, you and Fashion It So are right. They're not great outfits. They're going a little bit towards Friday's Child, but also, like I said, the Flash Gordon one. So
yeah, needed something else.
Yep.
So Crusher is the one that figures out how they're going to escape, which I appreciated that because too often we would expect Picard to be the one to rescue them. So good on the writers. If we want to talk about the writer real quick, this episode was written by Nick Sagan, who is best known for writing Star Trek Voyager, and second best known for writing Star Trek Next Generation. He's got 2 Next Generation writing credits. He writes one that almost at the end of the series, later this season. And then on Voyager, he has 25 credits, but he was a story editor. So a lot of those are just story editing credits, but he does have a couple teleplay buys mixed in there. Just season 5, it looks like. So season 5 of Voyager, he worked on it.
To back up for a few things before they get captured, Crusher says, "I smell gas." Mm-hmm. And I wrote, "Is that a fart joke?" Because methane touches on my job that I rarely mention on here, but methane doesn't have a smell. So methane, natural gas suppliers add a thing called ethyl mercaptan, and that's what smells like rotten eggs, and that's what smells like gas. So methane or actual gas or whatever wouldn't have a smell. So we think it smells because it comes out of us and cows, but it sometimes. But yes. As soon as they had the brain implants, I wrote down Chekhov's brain implants. And I just thought they were going to be used to torture them. I like where they ended up going with instead. That was obviously much more interesting and gets some more red kryptonite aspects. One other thing, Crusher mentions her fear of heights. And the Orville did a callback to this because the good doctor on the Orville in the one episode also has a fear of heights. So do I. But regardless, so me and the chief medical officer. So I don't know if it's actually a callback, but I like that connection. That they have fears of heights.
So we're talking about the Kests or the Kiz, whatever. They haven't even talked to the Pret for the last 100 years, except informal conversations that they can't talk about. I was really surprised that didn't come back up. Like I thought there was something there, that there was some secret communication that mattered, but apparently not. Apparently it was just the ambassador Morik being kind of a jerk.
I think I hadn't thought about it until just now, but it could have been talking about the secret operatives that are entrenched there. In other words, they're getting more information from them covertly, and so that would violate their security to talk about it. Or they might be embarrassed about some of it's like they didn't want to get into the subject of maybe terrorist attacks from these other people that should have been immaterial.
Yeah, I was going to say it sounds like a breakup. It's like, I haven't talked to them in 100 years. Well, what about here and here? Well, yeah, I guess, but really, we haven't really had a conversation in at least 100 years. You guys hung out together for at least 5 of those years. Yeah. But I don't. Nah. Screw them. Yeah,
they haven't changed.
I mean, yeah, this guy's kind of the breakup, and he's super paranoid. So he's like the ex, I guess, that can't let go, and thinks everybody's thinking about him, and it's all about him.
Yes.
But the spies are right. Her spies told me he's right to think that.
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh God, that was funny. The guard who showed up with the cloche, I think that's what that's called. That lid.
Yeah.
Slides it. The way he's got that phaser pointer the whole time, and that stance as he's just backing out like that, and just. I love that so much, and he just really selling that. I guess he can't be too careful, can he?
No.
Yeah, they might do anything, even without knowing why he's there. So, assuming that turned out to be the inside operative from the Kess, or just maybe somebody who had planted it in there without him knowing it. Either way.
Yeah, it wasn't really clear who their operatives were, and even though they said the operatives did these things, we didn't see them do these things. So it was very.
That means they're really good.
Half-baked story, I guess.
What? That means they're really good at their jobs. It's like saying, "Oh yeah, the ninjas we saw, they're those guys over there." That's.
but.
What, I mean, they're going to blow their cover just to say, "Hey,
being told from the perspective of the ninja's boss, so you'd expect to see the ninjas as an audience member, right?"
Oh, as an audience, well, maybe if you didn't care about budget. They had to save up money to get into the Federation. They spent all their money on like banners and stuff. So
I don't.
Confetti
and a crudité for the welcome reception.
Yeah,
they did a really good job making Dr. Crusher and Picard look hot as they're going through the lava in terms of like temperature wise. Picard taking off the jacket and Crusher's hair being disheveled. I thought they did a pretty good job there.
I thought it was attractive too. I don't know.
Sure.
Although as the little spurts of fire were coming up, I was wondering if the rodents of unusual size were going to jump out and attack them. From the Princess Bride, where the fire,
right, yes, I'm sorry, yes.
Then as they escape, there's like this big explosion that looks so fake, and it's like in Hollywood, you have two choices with this explosion: you either walk away calmly without looking back, or you jump and are propelled forward. They did neither. They just kind of ran a little bit.
Yeah, that was very underwhelming.
Well, it's probably more realistic than if you think about it.
Well,
a real explosion.
They had to roll Picard because he was on fire. Or maybe Crusher because her hair would have caught.
Very true. Yeah. And then she would have been like half bald the rest of the episode. Yeah.
I think she could Persis combat it. She'd be fine.
Back on the ship, they realize they're missing. Riker's not allowed to contact the government of the Prit directly. Right. So he tries to get through the back channel. They're like, Matt, don't even call us. We didn't give you our number, dude. Stay away.
That
You're
was hilarious.
Us. It's so over the top of just how isolationist they are.
Yeah, and I love when I think it's at the end of that part where Riker's like, "Well, you can leave and make sure you take all this junk with you."
That's way later, but
is that later?
That's the other species. That's the Kess. This is when he's talking to the Prit to try to find out where the officers are.
That was hilarious.
Yeah.
And they're like, if you call us again, we're going to fire on you. And Worf's like, yeah, they can't hurt us. And I'm just like, are they the yappy little dog that just like tries to act scary, but they're not at all a threat?
I'm talking myself both in and out of how plausible that would be, that sort of interaction. So it's like when you're calling up tech support, you're getting this guy who's at that level of, is not expecting to get this call. It's like, oh my God, this isn't my job. I don't know. I'm not supposed to do this. I know they're listening in. What are they going to do if I say this thing? It's common sense. And of course, all right. Again, this is probably unprecedented. This is me explaining this to myself as I'm going along. You would think maybe I should just transfer this to my supervisor or something. This seems like the sort of thing that the Security Council that he's referring to should be alerted of immediately. Although they're obviously listening into the calls, which is what he was probably expecting. But still, that seems like okay, oh, you're those guys. Oh wow. Hold on, I need to transfer you to this other department. This is too hot for me. Something like that. This is above my clearance level. It was like, oh my God, no, I'm not supposed to talk to you. I can't do that. They won't let me. This is unauthorized. You shouldn't be doing this. Bye. We're going to start a war. Bye. What? Sorry. Yeah. There's my rant. It just seems like there should have been something written on a sticker or something like, okay, I'm not sure what to do. Let me put you on hold for a second. Something. But
yeah. Well, they're so isolationist. This probably hasn't happened before.
Right. So the unprecedented factor. So
yeah. Mm-hmm. So then Picard and Crusher are climbing up the rocks, and Picard's trying to encourage her and instruct her. I think what was missing from that scene, Crusher would have been able to climb better if Picard sang Frere Jacques to her as he helped her climb. That's probably what was missing there. So the ambassador of the Kess, played by Robin Gamble, we mentioned that his name was Morik. Robin Gamble's best known for Skyline, Contact, the 1997 film with Jodie Foster, Bulworth, and Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit. He has 131 credits.
He was also in Dave as the Postmaster General. He was also married to Gretchen Corbett, who you may not remember, but she was a character actor, did a bunch of stuff late 70s, early 80s. That's where I remember. Cheers, Magnum PI, and Rockford Files. She was,
Nice.
other than Marriott Hartley, to bring up another Star Trek connection, probably his most memorable, I don't want to say girlfriend, because I don't think they were ever girlfriends on Rockford Files, but female counterpart. So, anyway.
Then we get to see, we see him sitting in the quarters they've given him, where he's got all this equipment and has like made this whole elaborate thing, which seems kind of ridiculous. Why didn't you just stay on the surface and do it from there? But did it look like those were a bunch of TOS props that have been in storage, a lot of them, other than the static ball, of course?
Yeah. And maybe that's the idea, is like these guys are not that advanced yet. So
they're pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
I definitely got the thinking when Picard and Crusher were going through the brush on the hillside. That's the same place they filmed Darmok, right? It really felt that way, not just from the looks, but Picard's back in the gray with the jacket off, so it all...
I wanted to look it up, but I failed. I was too busy looking up.
I feel pretty confident in saying... Yeah, I feel pretty confident in saying it was the same place. They get nausea when they separate? What benefit would that have to the implant? I feel like that's just to restore tension.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
It doesn't have any realistic reason in the plot.
No.
It's a futuristic chain.
Yeah.
At this point, we meet the head of the Prit, Lauren, played by Lenore Kasdorf, best known for Starship Troopers, Cellular, 3 episodes of Babylon 5, and this role, according to IMDb, 89 credits.
Yeah, she also played, I think they called her a saucy nurse on Guiding Light from 1975 to 1981. So I had to go back and look because my mom watched that, and so did I, because I was a kid. And I did remember her, so it makes sense that I was like, who is this? I'm calling her security chief, but I did remember her from.
So she thinks Starfleet's going to sign a military pact with the Kess, and the Kess thinks Starfleet's conspiring with the Prit. Like, the paranoia here is so thick. It's like, how did they even get as far as they got in the process?
It's very let that be your last battlefield.
By being careful.
Without the makeup, but yeah.
They got there by keeping their cards close to their vest.
Yes.
Like Bruce Wayne.
Back on the planet, Picard admits that he just wants a croissant and coffee for breakfast, and so does Crusher, so it's that classic misunderstanding. She was doing it for him, and he was doing it for her. I feel like in the 24th century, they're more evolved than that. One of them would have said something by now in some way. I like the way they both pronounce croissant. I can't do it, but both Beverly did the French pronunciation as well as Picard. Although it is kind of sweet she was doing it for him, I guess, and that he was...
The pronunciation.
Doing it for her. No, both probably. And that's just where Beverly realizes Picard has strong emotion for her, where he goes through the whole journey about how he fell in love with her while she was still married to his best friend and all that crap. And then at the end, he's like, but then I realized I don't love you anymore. And I'm like, wait. This story started with the fact that he had a strong emotion. You walked us through this whole story of your strong emotion for her. I get all that, but now you're claiming at the end of the story that you don't still have the strong emotion that kicked off the story because she felt it. It just didn't gel. There's a hole there. But I did
trying to cover.
I think he was trying to cover, but she can read his mind at that point.
Right.
So everything else was legit. He just should have owned up to it and quit being a wimp at the end. And then that's even like hammered home even more, like at the end where he's like, should we see where this goes? And it's like, you just said you didn't love her anymore.
Right. Sure.
I mean, I guess he assumes that she knows he was lying because whatever. And maybe he just said it because he's not used to her being able to read his thoughts. That's like the cover for both of them. But then he realizes like she knows he was lying. I don't know, but it's still...
All right, here's the thing romance, I'm just, again, I think it's just... Sure, in the TV show movie version of what love is supposed to be, it's supposed to be something. Oh, this thing happened and it just stays there forever. Otherwise, it wasn't real. That doesn't really work that way, though. And
sure,
he was forced to put this away because he's had to keep it buried for what, decades at that point, however long that was. Yeah. He can't just turn it back on necessarily. I mean, that's something he's been so in the habit of holding back that he probably doesn't feel love in the same way because it's been kind of diffused. What?
Well, so the whole thing started because he felt a strong emotion towards her.
What whole thing started?
Right.
The whole conversation, because she said, I feel the strong emotion from you.
That doesn't mean, right. Well, it probably started off the conversation, but that doesn't mean that the strong emotion he feels right then was the same romantic love he would have felt when he first saw her. Is what
Not
I'm saying.
the same, but clearly he still has feelings for her.
Sure, but you were saying you seem to be confused about him saying that he doesn't love her anymore.
What's that strong?
Yeah.
What's the strong emotion then? If it's not love.
But that's the word love is just misleading in and of itself. It covers too many things. Sure. If he said he probably means he doesn't feel that kind of infatuation of the that forbidden kind of, oh my God, I can't, that same sort of thing. It's been buried over that many years of friendship. So I don't know. I think what you were saying at the end is him having a chance to work through those things after having expressed them, probably realizing that those same kinds of impediments weren't there and saying that was like, hey, maybe we should give it a shot, that thing. But she probably wasn't quite ready because she didn't feel like he was opening up enough, etc. Not just a guess.
When they're in the campfire, they both say, I love fire. Neither one of them says Jinx. Neither one says Jinx, buy me a Coke.
That's because Coca-Cola's gone with the fall of capitalism.
I refuse to accept that.
Well, no, you just replicate it. So the brand isn't there anymore. You just replicate a cola. And of course, a cola is just Coca-Cola because no other cola matters. So they would have preserved that one.
Right. Well, also the purchasing thing wouldn't be something that we'd be doing in Starfleet. So.
Right. No, now it's just free, but you don't need to specify the brand.
Just to back up, and I know we'll continue to talk about these two and the way they're trying to hide their emotions, but they can read their mind, but at what level? How does Crusher go right to sleep after all that?
Well, she later says she was awake. So for a long time.
She was.
Because you're absolutely right. She doesn't go right to sleep.
Watching him dream.
Yes. Or listening to his dreams, essentially.
Yeah. I think, and I'm going to completely reverse this in a little while here, but I think it's probably good that they kind of acted like these feelings were very nebulous. So that it wasn't like, well, I know you feel, I mean, they might have been saying, I know you feel this way. And I think this might be why he's like, well, I don't love you the way I used to, even though maybe he does. Yeah, I think it wasn't like in their like in my mind. And actually, you know what? I'll get there now. My alternate episode is we see the visual representation of their thoughts. So, and I don't think it's like teletype. I love you. I used to. I think we're eating too much for breakfast. I think it's more visual imagery than.
Do we need a dream sequence of them hooking up?
That's
maybe.
Yeah, that's that's my alternate episode.
Well, I mean, for one other thing I was thinking about, just even from my own experience, I've had some intense crushes before, and thinking, oh yeah, this is that thing. Once you get used to the idea of just you're around them often enough, you get used to the idea that this is not a thing that's going to happen. He's kind of going whatever, and it just don't really feel the same way after a while, and it doesn't. You can't. It's hard to get that back. It's not like you can just it would take some work. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I buy all that. I just because it was kicked off by the strong emotion. I don't know what the strong emotion was if it's not still continuing.
That's what I missed.
It's a good point, Jimmy, in that would he be sitting there thinking about the old days? Wouldn't he be thinking about like the right now rather than the old times?
Until it's been brought up, and then he's thinking about the old days.
Right. Yeah.
Though you can tell from the look on her face, even though she seems to act like it never occurred to her, that she might have feelings for him. And maybe she's just realizing him in the moment herself, but it certainly looks like she's thinking about it.
Right, for sure. Yeah.
Back on the Enterprise, Worf is happy to kidnap the Brit leader. He's all too happy to just abduct her. Riker goes in the conference room with the two ambassadors, like, I'm not sitting at a table. Fine, we'll just stand. I love that. Like, Riker's like, no, you guys are going to talk this out. And if you don't have to make peace, we're just going to say, if you guys can't talk it out, we'll leave you alone. But we're not dealing with this. Great job. Jonathan Frakes directed the episode as well. Double duty, did expertly. Picard then gets shot and rolls down the hill. That was quite a TOS roll there, wasn't it?
Yes.
Riker's totally bluffing about the investigation to the Kess, or to the Prit, because they have that. If they're not a member of the Federation, Starfleet's not going to send a bunch of ships to get in their business. The Prime Directive would prevent that, but I guess he's counting on them not understanding that. Yeah,
that's what I thought.
A good bluff. Beverly, if you notice when she gets the force field open, well, obviously you notice, when Beverly gets the force field open, she shoves Picard through before it closes again, which seems pretty dangerous because it barely opens a little bit. It's a little tiny hole, and he could easily touch the side if you're shoving and you can't control the movement as well. Feel like he could easily get fried to death, but it's still sweet that she takes the moment to save him, even at the expense of herself. And then Picard and Beverly's private joke in front of Riker was really fun. Where they're talking, they just won't even clue him in or acknowledge that he's there.
Didn't we just do that? Oh yeah, we did it a couple weeks ago with Luxana and Deanna. Did it on the elevator with the guy in between them, and they're going back and forth.
Yeah.
So my other fashion Karcher's evening wear at their dinner at the end. I liked it a lot, and I was surprised that I was doing fashion, so they didn't. But then they got to where they're like, okay, this is the turn. And it's when you see her legs and the stocking she's in or whatever, her hosiery. And they're like, okay, now we like it. You got the whole ensemble. I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I liked both of their outfits in that final scene, the candlelit dinner.
They said about his shirt that your shirt shouldn't be so shiny that you can see yourself in it.
It's 24th century fashion. I just seeing them out of their regular clothes. It was very clear that this was, first of all, dinner, not breakfast, which was meaningful. Mm-hmm. I kept thinking their breakfast were because they were hooking up, but from this episode, clearly that's not the case, at least not yet. Breakfast was, I guess, just a way to start the day together. And now this means something different. They're dressed up nice. There's candlelight.
Right.
Yep.
It's a date. Whether they decide to go forward or not, it's a date.
And Picard's shirt, he's showing some chest, which I always enjoy.
Yep.
My summation of the end of it, their whole conversation at the end, is just two pop cultural references. One is, now that we found love, what are we going to do with it? Heavy D, rest in peace.
I'm not laughing at the rest in peace part, just
right. I feel like that's what their conversation is like. Well, now that we figured we got this, now what do we do with it? And again, I feel like I'm saying small, which I know came later, but it's a very red kryptonite. But I applaud that. I like using red kryptonite to advance, kind of like the Naked Time, the Naked Now, all that kind of stuff. And I just texted this to somebody from the Royal Tenenbaums. Margot says to Richie, I think we're just going to have to be secretly in love with each other and leave it at that. I also feel like that's what they're kind of saying for now. And I appreciate both those sentiments. There's a lot there. And maybe that's literally another little aspect of the episode is there's so much here that's unsaid, because it's literally unsaid.
Now that they can't hear each other's thoughts. So now I like that she makes him say it, where he's like, we're going to what are you suggesting? Spell it out, grow a pair. And he does. He's the one that puts himself out there, and she kind of rejects him in a way because she's scared of it.
Yeah. She thought she was calling his bluff. She thought she was calling his bluff, and he wasn't going to do it.
I think there's an aspect of that for sure. But yeah, she's the one that puts on hold. It feels really late in the series to get to this, because this is something we've think's been hinted at for 7 years. This isn't the last time we hear about the two of them. Like, this isn't something they drop going forward. But again, because of the type of show, it's not front and center for the rest of the season. I really wish they would have done more about it. And I really wish they dated through this final season and we got to see the beginnings of their relationship. And that's my alternate episode, is I want to see that moving forward instead of just the little bits we get between here and Star Trek Picard.
Do you think they had no choice but to hear the other one's thoughts? Or do you think, okay. Because then my question is Revenge of the Sith. It's if you, in the security tapes, you go, only pain will you find. And not necessarily pain in this instance, but essentially the sentiment being, if you go into somebody's brain or into somebody's files, or if you pry into a place and you find something that you don't like, that's on you. That's not on them. And you got to know that going in. So, but if they have no control, then that's, like Spock could probably be like, nope, you can't get in here. But these guys probably, obviously not.
He would Spock block them. He would just put up one of these or something.
Yeah. So the Prit have these devices. Does it work that way to everybody there, or is just they don't even? Do you think they know this happened?
I mean, that was specifically to like read their thoughts. Maybe they do that with any Kess that they capture. Yeah, but I guess I don't think everybody wears them around on the street.
Yeah, you're.
Well, from my alternate episode, I just wanted to go back to something, which was the thing that Jimmy was saying about.
No, they can't go back, only forward. Sorry.
Well. As well, the scene where she had heard him, probably the strong emotions and so forth, and you're saying he was kind of contradicting, backpedaling, which made me think of one of my favorite overused references. That being, he was scrabbling, trying to deny his thoughts, but it was too late. She'd seen it all. She'd seen everything. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's get to the rankings then. This might take a while because Keith's got lots of rankings to make up. Keith, you want to give us your annoyance for Gambit Part 1, Gambit Part 2, and Dark Page?
I would say that the pirate captain for both.
For both of the
the
Gambits.
Mercenary smuggler. Yeah.
And then for Dark Page?
Luxana.
Okay. Poor Loxana.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Steven was annoyed by Kristen Dunst's makeup artist, and I was annoyed by the budget department. So, who is your annoyance for attached? I got to go with Morik, the Kess ambassador, because the Prit, you expect it, but he's supposed to be more evolved.
there's some things I must have missed toward the end.
Hez and Prit. Those are my two.
Those are the species.
I know.
Is it just the entire planet of Kesprit?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the guy who answered that call that Riker made at the beginning, the Brit. I was like, that was I've already made my rant. It just did not make enough sense. Well, I mean, it did, but you know what I'm saying. It's just it's frustrating.
Keith, who did you have a drink with for Gambit Part 1 and 2 and Dark Page?
To Paul, probably for both. Or
Robin
Laura?
Curtis.
Is that what that was? Huh.
Yeah.
Robin Curtis from who played Savick in Star Trek 3 and 4.
That was the actress for
Yeah.
Okay, how about that? Let's see. So the guy, the alien guy in Dark Page, the father, I guess, the one who was doing all
the guy that was helping Loxana have the visions.
Yes. I can't remember.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember his name, but I'll just put guy helping with the visions. Who are we having a drink with in this episode?
Beverly at the end of this episode.
Actually, she's not nursery down here, but Lauren. That's who I'm having a drink with.
Lauren, the Prit.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Leader. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with Keith. I'm having a drink with Beverly.
I want to get implants with Lauren.
I don't feel like that's wise for any relationship. You have to really be prepared to accept them fully, whoever it is.
I just want her to know how I feel about it.
Okay. Then she'll know everything about how you feel about it.
Yes.
Yeah, you might be right.
She won't have seen it all.
I might need to walk that back.
Everything.
Okay, Keith, we need some help with ranking the episodes, but let's start back with where we were running into issues. Because right now we have Liaisons and Descent Part 2 at the top, Phantasm, Dark Page, and the Interface at the bottom, but Stephen and I disagree with the three middle ones. I wanted to go Gambit Part 1, Gambit Part 2, Descent Part...
You shouldn't tell me.
Sorry.
Shouldn't I just have to go through an order anyway? Yeah, because it's just like, where did you start?
Just rank for us Descent Part 2 and the 2 parts of Gambit. Put those 3 in order.
I got it. I probably put that under both, honestly. I think I would go Gambit 2, then 1, then Descent 2.
Ooh, this is hard. Okay, hang on. So Gambit 1, you have Gambit 2 as first place?
I think so. It's like, yeah, I think so. I think I like the reveals. Yeah.
So Wu set Gambit 2 in first place as well. Mm-hmm. So let's say the two of you tied there. So we're gonna put Gambit in first place. I had it in second place. I had Gambit 1 over top of 2. That was episode 4. Episode 5. Gambit Part 2 is now our second place. I had Descent Part 2 at the bottom as well as you did. Wu's put in the middle. So let's move Descent to the bottom, and then Gambit Part 1. I had number 1, but Steven had it at the bottom.
Interesting.
Keith put it in the middle. So I guess that's the middle split. So I think that's the fairest way to go, which means we all 3 had different rankings, but I think the average is out. Gambit 2, Gambit 1, Descent, which is Keith's order.
Yay. Somehow I knew.
Because you agreed with Steven in one place and me in one place, and it evened out.
That's funny.
Okay, so now we got to rank this one attached. Let's start with it against Dark Page, the Loxana episode. Better or worse?
Kind of similar in some ways in the mind stuff, but this was a little more show, not tell, maybe, or was it the opposite? No, it could be tell, not show. I don't know.
I like this one better. I thought it was better developed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, wait. What? I meant to say I like Dark Page better. I thought that was better developed. I'm sorry.
I was like, wait a minute. Yeah. I like the
Dark Page was better developed.
Yeah, the Darmok episode was better. Or Darmok element of it was.
I like this one.
It's more fun.
Keith and I want to go below Dark Page. Steven, above Dark Page is Phantasms.
I think I go above that too.
Above that was Descent Part 2.
Wow. We really did not like the Loxana episode.
I did. I think you and Megan overruled me.
Oh, that's right. I think it's we're very close. I'd probably still go above that too.
Above that's Gambit Part 1.
I think I'm putting too much stock into the the good part of this episode, not the bad part. So I'm going to stop there.
Okay.
I'm working through it in real time here.
You're already going to be at least 3 spots above where it's going to end up. So Keith, below Dark Page, which is our...
I'm glad you guys corrected me.
Below Dark Page is the interface. Do we think it's better or worse, Keith?
Above.
Agreed.
Not even just like, no.
Agreed. That was a bad episode.
I don't know. Yeah.
So this is near the bottom. I don't think this one was terrible. I still think the interface is the only bad episode this season. I don't think
my background. It's not a bad episode, but
I don't think it hoisted the lunar body.
It did not.
No, I think the interface is the only bad episode we've had this season. I think overall this has been better than season 6 so far. But
yeah, I think so too.
Next week, back to Deep Space Nine, a Ferengi episode. So get excited. Rules of Acquisition.
Nice.
Where a female Ferengi named Pell, posing as a male so that she can engage in business, falls for Quark during very important negotiations between the Ferengi and a Gamma Quadrant race. So, Tootsie? Is that Tootsie? I've never seen Tootsie, but I'm guessing that's Tootsie.
Yentel? Was that? I never even saw that. Was that what was happening in that?
Yeah, she's playing
or
Victoria, Julian.
Or just
Victor
one of the
Victoria,
guys, actually.
There you go.
That's one of the guys.
Victor Victoria.
Yeah.
Wow.
Until then, live long.
Can you read my mind? Can you picture this I'm thinking of? You can fly. You belong to the sky. You and I could belong to each other and prosper.
Yeah, prosper enough to have me, but who has you? I did that one wrong. Yes, you've got me. Who's got you? Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
It's All Been Done presents
Who's Got the Time?